Okay, recording.
All right, all right. Welcome to episode 9 of the Patty and Georgie show. I just like saying that because we're keeping track and it sounds kind of fun that we've moved beyond like 3, which is awesome for us. So for today's show, I'm really excited because we have a very special guest that we're going to chit chat with today. He's a good friend of mine, Bill Goold. So welcome, Bill. Thank you so much for joining us today. And even though you can't see his face, it's okay. He's actually there. So in keeping with part of what we normally do, I thought I'd share our quote of the day, and then I'll tell you a little bit about Bill, and then we will jump right into our conversation. And for those of you who are joining us today, do please feel free to put your questions in the chat, because as always, this is interactive, and we do want to provide value to everybody. So the quote I found this morning, which I think is relevant to everyone on the call today, is from one of my favorites, Mr. Simon Sinek, the Start With Why guy. So he says, invest in relationships. Life is hard. None of us has the strength to do it alone. We need people to encourage and inspire us so we can encourage and inspire others. And I think that's just a really, really good point. And so I'll give you sort of the official info about Bill, then I'll tell you my take on Bill, and then we'll start the conversation. So for those of you who don't know Bill, Bill is a really successful businessman in real estate. Now in 1983, he was actually on welfare. 11 years later, he made his first million. And then throughout his career in real estate, he was actually named the #1 realtor in the world 5 times with RE/MAX. And what I love about that journey is, we often hear about people who talk about, oh, I've made it, but we never see kind of what that time frame looks like. So I love the fact that it took you 11 years to make your first million. So for those who've only been trying a couple years, you have hope. You have hope if that's your goal. But I think more importantly, like Bill's success is great in business, and that's really awesome. And what I love even more, and why I'm so happy that we get to talk to him today, is the human being that Bill is. So I've known Bill for 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that now, and he is one of the most kind-hearted, loving, generous, human-centered people that I've had the pleasure to be able to call my friend. And when I think about that quote by Simon, when I've sort of had kind of my darkest moments, Bill was there to be like, hey, Georgie, I got you, and he shared some really good information that really helped to lift me up. And I think, those are the kind of people that we actually want in our world. We want those people that are going to be there, and that they do provide just that space, and that they're just there for us, not necessarily to provide lots of information and stuff, hey, go do this, go do that, but they get us, and they're there to support us and lift us up. So I love Bill, and I'm really happy that you're here to join us on our conversation. So thank you, Bill.
Thank you. I'm very touched.
You're welcome. So maybe and you've met Patty, which is good. I often forget sometimes that Patty doesn't know some of the people I know. so I forget to do the introductions. So most of the people here on our call today are purpose-driven entrepreneurs at kind of different stages in their business, but I would say the majority are probably in the earlier stages of their business. So maybe tell us a little bit, like I've given a little bit of a background about you, Bill, but maybe share a little bit more about you and yourself as an entrepreneur when you first got started, just to give them some background.
Thank you. Well, I guess that I guess I was a salesman, and I didn't want to be a traveling salesman, and so I got into selling real estate when interest rates were 14.5%. Can you imagine 14.5%? Hopefully never again. So not much was selling, and I wasn't making any money. In fact, even before that, I couldn't even get a job selling commercial real estate because I only had a grade 12 education. And I started working with this healer named Ann Heaney. I'd love to find her. And so that was kind of really the start of my, it was two evolutions going on, was, you know, getting a job in commercial real estate, but also my path onto personal development and spirituality. And yeah, it was an amazing journey. But I guess that really learned about how the universe works. As I'm looking back, I didn't see it at the time, but I was in a lot of fear. You know, there's only two emotions, fear or love. Mm-hmm. And I was in a lot of fear. And so I would do these affirmations. I'd do this breath work from this healer. And she helped me move some energy, because I was very, very scattered at the time and scared, you know, because here I had my future father-in-law looking down at me, called me the boy. What's the boy up to now? Oh, he's unemployed. Okay. Actually, at the time, I was a beer rep for Grand Island Breweries. And anyways, I think, though, that I would say the very first thing I did is I did this course called Mind Power in the 21st Century. And it really opened up a lot of channels, and I highly recommend to read it. The book's now called Mind Power in the 21st Century. The website is learnmindpower.com. The author is John Kehoe. And this book really helped me a lot, being aware of my mind and my thoughts. There's another lady that I would, if you're interested in some of these courses or books, her name is Gila Gulab. Gila, G-I-L-A, Gulab, G-O-L, let me get that correct. Hang on a sec here. Yeah, G-O-L-U-B. Please look her up on her website. And she has a wealth of information. But basically what she says is 100% of reality is from 100% of our thoughts.
So when you were getting started, what were some of the thoughts that you were having? Because my guess is there's probably a lot of people on the call that were having some of those same thoughts.
Yeah, I was scared, very, very scared. Fake it till you make it was another thing that I was taught, and to get on the phone and just hustle. Get on the phone. But the other thing, though, I think what was really important is I did this course called Excellent Seminars International. Yeah. Are you familiar with Georgie? Mm-hmm. As a lot of these listeners are familiar with it? I don't know. Are they?
I'm not sure. Patty is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really important to get to understand who you are, or who I was. And doing that course really helped me. And, you know, I did that 30 years ago. And I really think that what's really the key is that we're all trained to look outside ourselves. We're trained to, you know, look how we dress, you know, what's the latest in Hollywood, what kind of car we drive, what kind of house we live in, and what do our friends think of me. And as Gila says, what you think of me is none of my business. So the reason why I brought all that up is because we all look outside ourselves rather than inside ourselves. We got to look inside ourselves, and we have to invest in ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's so true, you know, and I think even especially, it's so funny because yesterday I was listening to a thing, just like you said this morning, right, about fear and love, and we have two choices and which one you're going to choose. And I think it's so easy to get caught up in the fear, right? And fear speaks in such it just kind of whispers in our ear all the time. And this thing I was listening to said, fear sounds very rational. It makes so much sense. So it's so easy to get sucked into it. And I think it's, you know, when we're in that fear too, it becomes more challenging to take action. So I'm super curious, because for you were in the fear, if I'm getting this right. And then, you know, you found these things like the mind power and Gila and going through these different processes that seem to, would you say that's what helped you to take action? Or where did you find the space to kind of quiet the fear voice to do something different?
Well, you just got to keep knocking on doors, and it's like a jet. It takes a lot of fuel to get that sucker off the ground.
Yes.
You got to give it all you got.
Yeah.
And what you learn in the Mind Power book is called the Great Trickster, which is the ego. And the ego is always going to creep in there and say, no, you're not worthy. And I'll give you an example. My first 2 sales, I had one big commission one small commission one, and the big commission one fell apart because I couldn't fathom making that much money in such a short amount of time. And so working with the healer, so I always believe everybody needs a coach, you know, and so we'll call her a coach. And working with a coach, she taught me how to receive. Right. I didn't know how to receive. And that is 98% of the population don't know how to receive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that really helped. But just lots of persistence, perseverance, and never give up.
Just keep going.
If this is your dream and you are driven to it, it lights you up. It lights you up. It's like there's a movie called Bagger Vance. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking, I think one day this week about, you know, when you do have that passion for something or that thing, like you say, that really lights you up, it's then you're more forgiving too. Like you fall down and you find a way to get back up, and you fall down and you find a way to get back up, and you keep going, you keep talking to people. And it's so interesting because I love like how you were saying, you know, it's the same thing, which we are still hearing today, you know, when it comes to sales and marketing in a lot of different spaces. Fake it till you make it. Just keep going. Just, you know, hustle. Just, it's all about the numbers, And, you know, Patty and I kind of come from this space that it's really about talking to the right people. It's about building relationships with people, caring about people, having the conversations, and you do have to continue doing that, you know, consistently. I think it is a big thing because, you know, if we're not talking to enough people, probably the sales aren't going to come as well. But it's so interesting how these beliefs of what you have to do to be successful have been going on for so long, and it's still happening. And it's kind of like, when is anyone going to question that and go, really could there be another way?
We've got a comment here. We'd like to hear more about this, about the trouble receiving.
Mm-hmm. I will answer the receiving question in a minute, but I wanted to add to what Georgie had said.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going through right now at the same time.
Perfect.
So ask people, talk to people, but also talk to the universe. And basically, you know, there's a lot of unemployed angels up there, mm-hmm. or whatever you want to use, your higher power, whatever you want to call it, God, whatever, right? A higher power. There are a lot of unemployed, and they're waiting there with their notepad and they're listening to you. Oh, you want that? Okay, good. It's yours. You got it. You know, but we have this bandwidth, and we're also have all our negative talks going on at the same time, and they're picking all that up too. Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh, you're back.
Oh.
Okay, you're there. Whoops.
Hang on a sec.
There I am. And I can see you now.
Yay! Our mystery man has unveiled himself.
Woo! Hello, Universal Angels. Thank you for bringing Bill's face to me. Magic. Awesome.
So, yeah, so anyways, but receiving, yeah, we have a very hard time receiving. And it was hard to I did receive those, you know, your compliments this morning, and thank you, Georgie, but it was still hard to receive. But I received it.
Yay.
And so, yes, that is a very good question. And that if you don't know how to receive, you're pretty well, might as well go work at Walmart. Sorry to say that. Or wherever. And hey, working at Walmart is a great thing. Don't get me wrong. So yeah, so basically, I would say that I had a goal to supply. I wanted to support my family, and when I wasn't making money, I know the universe had lessons for me to learn, right? And so it's just, that's all it is just we're here to learn lessons, and we just know this is a journey. And I'm going to add this book that I think is amazing. It's called Dark Side of the Light Chasers, from Debbie Ford. And what it is that, you know, we have to love all of ourselves, but we have the ego and our shadow side to understand. And the more that we understand it, we can get through all our trials and tribulations. And, you know, like an example, in the book, they talk about your sub-personalities. One's mine's critical Carl, you know, and I can be very critical. There's a gift to it, but there's also a not such a good part. But, you know, what you learn is how to love that part of you, you know, I won't get into that too much. I just want to put that out there.
Well, I think it's a good thing. And if you think about, because often, you know, especially when we are in fear, and so we're beating ourselves up, and, you know, I'm not doing the things I know I need to be doing. I'm not trusting myself. I know I have this great message to share with the world, and I'm not doing the things I know I need to do to be able to share the message. I think it's a good point, because there's probably some shadow stuff underneath that. Mm-hmm. So how do we accept that part of us, love that part of us, and then make that transition to do it? Because, you know, and I think right now I think it's a really, really, really great time for leaders to be able to step up. I think for people that are purpose driven, sort of you see this around too, like the light workers of the world, they're needed right now, you know? So people that are doing like healing things and health and wellness things and coaches, the world really, really needs them right now. And so it's the perfect opportunity for them to be able to step up. And possibly it's some of these limiting beliefs, these shadow sides that are keeping people kind of stuck. So what would you say is a way they could sort of start to integrate that, to get their message out there, to take the steps?
Okay, well, let me explain what's happened, right? Okay, I'm only going by that when I was working with this healer, her name's Ann Heaney, and she made me read this book called The Fifth Dimension. The book was written in 1986. I don't know who the author is. If you Google it, there's lots of books on the fifth dimension. Yeah. I remember it kind of being blue and purple type of thing. Anyways, and in it, so, I mean, you probably weren't born you were probably weren't born yet. But
what do you say, in 86? 86? Yeah. I was born.
But anyways, at that time, I don't think there was no Facebook. There was no, and basically, anyways, never mind. I'll get to the point. Is that this book said that we're going to go from the industrial age to the information age. And in the information age is that the world's going to be spinning faster and faster. And information is going to be coming at a very fast pace. And if you look at what's happened to the computer world, right? Say no more.
Totally.
It also said is we're going to go from the third dimension to the fifth dimension. Okay. And the third, and so, and look what's happened. So let me explain that. I have this lady that works for Spirit and sold all her possessions, and she works for Spirit. And she told me a couple of months ago, she says, yeah, Bill, there's, if I get that correct, there was two planets that were kind of colliding, not like smashing, but they were arguing with each other. She said, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. I don't know what it is, right? So I talked to her last week, and she says, well, then, you know, if that was 2 months ago, we all got the, you know, this virus thing. Yeah. We're all into, and so what she told me last week was, she says is that, so since when the last full moon came, we were counterbolted into the fifth dimension frequency. So, and that's what's happening. So this is a time, she also shares that our intuitiveness, our intuition will increase, our clarity will increase. And, but some people aren't going to make it, you know, and that's what the book said that. The book said that the people will get this fifth dimension, some people won't. Yeah. So, you know, us as light workers, you know, we have to continually shining the light. And Georgie, on that note, I sent you that meditation for this Saturday,
yes, right? You did. Exactly. We'll share that with everybody too, because I think that's a really important
please practice it. The portal opens on Friday night. So practice, you know, reading it, do the meditation, and do it again on Saturday. So I just want to let you know about what's happened, you know. So, and I really believe you can co-create everything you want.
Now, have you always believed that? Because when we think about, I mean, I know once you started reading your books and learning more things, you're probably leaning more to that. And now I know it's a full-on belief for you, and you co-create your life every single day, which is amazing. But when we think about, like, you know, commercial real estate, it's a pretty like non-spiritual business, let's just say. Exactly. You're surrounded with people that are not, you know, kind of in this frame. How did, and I think this, because I think this happens a lot, right? Where people are meditating and they're doing personal growth, and we're working on ourselves, doing personal development. And again, it comes to that thing, oh, but I'm in this kind of business. I can't really talk about that. I can't do that. What are people going to think? So how did you navigate that?
Well, let me explain. First of all, I went to all the big commercial firms. Nobody would hire me. So I had to go to a residential office, and at I'd say halfway through my career, I was out selling teams of realtors from this work. And, but I always, and please write this down, everything happens for us, not to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here I am. I couldn't get a job in all these big firms. So I worked in a residential office, and there's a lot of wonderful residential realtors, and they taught me a lot. And that's how I learned. And when I took all the tools from what residential realtors do and put it into commercial real estate, then I was like out selling them. You know, I was out selling teams in selling apartment buildings. I sold apartment buildings, you know, and so I'm sorry, I lost track of your question.
No, well, because I think what I'm hearing you say is that you were doing your practices, you were doing the affirmations, you were doing the work on yourself, you were, you know, building your own belief, basically starting to co-create your life. And so by keeping yourself focused, doing the things you knew were right for you, and really, I don't want to call it self-care because it's not self-care, but almost expanding your own personal growth and spiritual practice. Yeah. You were doing better than teams of realtors.
That's right.
And so then I guess people kind of have to go, what's Bill doing? What's Bill doing over there? You know, and it's almost like, I can't remember what that curve thing is called, where you have like the early adopters of people, and people think you're crazy, you're nuts, you're just a whack job. Like, what the hell is going on over there? You know, he's meditating in his car, seriously. And then all of a sudden the results start happening. People are going, oh yeah, meditation is the best thing ever.
Right.
You know, but I think that's what I love about you so much, is that you're so, and I don't know how you teach this to people. We were kind of talking, but like your belief in yourself and the practices that you're doing, which I think it comes from that inner knowing that I know this is working. And the whole world can be telling me I'm a fruitcake nut job. And not that they were saying that to you, but do you know what I mean? Like, and yet it's that sense of, no, I'm good. I'm good. And then eventually people are like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? So it's getting people to that center. Like, how do you do that?
Well, it's interesting. I didn't know because my ego was so big. And at the time I was married to a school teacher, and I just thought I was a lucky salesman. You know, and I, you know, I can't spell or shit, excuse my language. You know, and I just surrounded myself with people that were book smart, and I had a above average emotional intelligence. But so I didn't really think I had it all together. And I just did my work. Just do your work.
Yeah.
Right? You got to keep doing the work inside. And we never really arrive.
No.
And we just got to keep on our path and keep doing our work, and new stuff, new challenges will show up.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. What I got written down here, there's a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People from Stephen Covey.
Yes.
You guys know that one?
Love that book.
And then the other one is the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. You got that one?
Yes,
Okay.
love that book.
Good. Okay.
Love that book. I love that. I love being able to have conversations like with someone like you who is very, very successful in business. And I love the fact that underneath it all, you know, it's not the business skills that you have. Like, yes, that's important. And it's the humanness, right? It's the connections with people. It's the connection with yourself. It's the commitment to continue working on your own inner growth, inner development, right? And also really focusing everything on you. It's not about what's happening out there. It's what's my part in this? How do I show up in this? Instead of going, it's your fault you didn't do this deal with me. It's your fault you're not answering the call. It's like, hang on a second. Let me bring it back into here. You know, and I think I love it because then when people say, you know, you can't do that, I'm like, seriously? I know someone who did, and all I need is one person who did it for me to believe it's possible. Yeah. Right. So, and I'm hoping that everyone that's listening to us today realizes just how important that inner work is, and that inner belief in ourselves. And like you're saying, that ability to co-create. And it doesn't mean that we don't fall down and forget, because definitely we do. And I think that's where it's so important to have those people in your life who are doing the work that can remind you. You know, we actually had a conversation with a fellow, Kevin Knebel, who very much follows along the same path. And, you know, we were talking a bit, I was like, yeah, you know, when you forget though, he goes, it's okay if you forget, just make sure you have someone there that can remind you, to bring you back, that, you know, you are just love. You just forgot for a second. That's right. Right? Yeah. Like, yeah. So I just think it's really cool, because often we can get so wrapped up in, especially now, like the fear, the panic, I don't know what to do. And we're really looking outside of ourselves and can feel like we have no control over this. This is happening to me, right? I have to stay home. I'm in isolation, all these kinds of things. But where do we find opportunity in that? And how do we look at that and go, oh, what's actually the good part about this? And like I say, I think it's a great time for us as leaders to step up. But you know, the thing about it, as Bill Goold says, and you know, things are happening for us, not to us. Totally. So there's a lot of people, and it's sad. I mean, that, you know, we'll probably go through a bit of a recession here, but I mean, listen, there was no real estate selling at 14.5% interest rates, and I still made a living. Yeah. You know what? And it's just a matter of having that faith, that persistence and perseverance, and you can overcome anything. Are these all women that are on this? I don't know. Let's see. We usually have a bit of a mixture. Generally more women. Okay. Nope, we've got a mixture today.
Okay. Anyways, what I was going to say is that women are way more powerful than men. Because I've had a lot of women work for me, and it blows me away what women can do. Men don't even come anywhere near it.
Nice.
And so, you know, for all the women out there, it's, you can achieve anything. It's actually easier for women than men.
Nice.
You know? Just because, you know, a lot of women that they, you know, they have kids, you know, they have to manage the house, manage the kids, and they work on top of that. How many men do that? Not very many.
Zero. No, just kidding. There's a few.
Well, not very many.
There's a few.
Yeah. And so anyways, no, it's just a matter of setting your sights, putting your goals in writing.
Ooh, good point.
And creating good habits. Goals have to be in writing. Actually, I'm going to be launching a goal setting course, which I'll keep you in tune on that.
Yeah, amazing.
And
so now when you put your goals in writing, did you read them every day as well? Like, I'd love to dive in a little bit more about what those kind of daily habits look like for you.
Oh, okay.
I think these are some good steps, right? Okay, so one,
Yeah.
We're going to put your goals in writing.
So before I would say the very first thing that I coach people, and the first thing I get them to do is called plan your work and work your plan.
Mm.
So every Sunday night is that you plan your week, right?
Yeah.
And the ego is going to do a good job of saying, oh, look at that squirrel over there. Let me go take that for a while. And oh, look at that in there. And it's this matter again. It's really a matter of waking up and getting more conscious. You know.
Yeah.
And the other thing, please write down. Everything is time, energy, and money. It's a triangle.
Yeah.
Time, energy, and money. So if we can if we put a lot of energy into our time management, we will create all the money that we need. It may not be much, it may be a lot. We all have different goals. We all have different comfort zones, you know, different desires.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, and so how it would look, you know, how I would start my day, I would start Sunday night, and I would set all my times. And so the first things I'd set in is wake up, meditate for 30 minutes, you know, get ready, you know, walk the kids to school or drive them. And on some days I would go to work earlier, and I would go to work. And then what I would plan, though, what was always in there all the time, was exercise. You have to exercise. The other thing which is really important is your cardio. As you really start getting your heartbeat and your cardio up, like your endurance, increasing your endurance, then you start sweating, your endorphin fins open up. And that's when you start visualizing the end result.
Yeah.
If you say that I'm going to have a successful business, it'll never happen. If you visualize the end result of you've got abundance of, I used to say I have abundance of listening, abundance of sales. So, you know, so if you would say that I've got abundance of well-paying clients, and you keep visualizing that all the time. And I made an affirmation of it. Like I would say I have abundance of listening, abundance of sales. So just change that affirmation into, you know, something that is in the present or the past. It can't be in the future.
Oh, that's good to know.
So, yeah, so then I would, you know, so when I'd go to work, I would have my time blocked for my exercise, and then my family time, and the rest I would just work. I didn't have to go and, you know, go and manage a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for the mother of my children, Lily. She was amazing. And she did that really well, you know, and she also did all the books in the business too, you know. So
what's the saying? Behind every successful man is a really good woman.
That's right. An amazing woman. So yeah, so my habits are meditating, affirmations,